Hello there, you might not know this, but this is me. Probably never seen my face before. Um, anyway, I'm gonna try to do something today. Something very special. Every time this guy says the word like, I'm gonna punch him in the face. Is that alright with y'all? I'm gonna try to do that. I don't know. I really got it. Wow. So anyway, I was like watching this like real short video. Like I was watching the long video just to see just to find the good points in the long I Ching video, and like it's so that I could recommend like points to start out if people wanted to watch it. And I mean, I use the word like way too much, like so much that I can't even stand it. It's bad. Anyways, I would like to do you a favor today, and for all of time, I would like to break deepfakes. And I've already had an idea to do this, like a couple days ago. But it's like to break shallow deepfakes. And so, so I didn't understand what was such a big problem with deepfakes. I didn't really understand what the. It's really hard to avoid saying certain words. It's like, it feels like a train wreck in my face. Get you some hot six. It's I don't know. It's pretty good. It's got ginseng, taurine, guarana, uh, just vitamin. I don't know if you can see that. I gotta make the screen bigger. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't expect to get back online. And oh yeah, I wanted to put this in front of my computer here, or in front of my camera. I don't think they're doing much with the video because that would be too obvious. I don't know. I'm not really sure because I stumble over words and kind of like mispronounce phonemes quite often. Sometimes G's sound like K's and K's sound like G's. More so the latter. There's just like 4 or 5 things in the long 3 hour video, which was way too long. I had fun doing it, but I probably could have done it faster if I was just kind of like doing it on my own. But I guess it just really irritates me to even really think like. I feel like it irritates me to think that like my videos could be like online. And man, I really wish I could run some noise or something because wouldn't that be cool? You know, I could get like a noise generator, tone generator. Oh, actually, I do have a noise generator. I'll be right back. It's an alarm clock. Sorry, I'm kind of mad. It's too loud. Yeah, we want it. We want it right there. Yeah. That's too. No. And really, you want some like unpredictable variation. This is not breaking deepfakes, by the way. Just so you know, this is actually kind of an idea for a startup. Like, would I ever be allowed to do anything in America without getting like stabbed in the back by probably like literally every person in the country, every other person in the country, probably. I guess something like that. I don't know, or maybe, maybe it's not that bad. I don't think. Yeah. here's the idea. Let me tell you about the problem. You can basically there's a concept of Levenstein distance, which is used in bioinformatics to calculate the distance between two genes in a chromosome, or two like subsections of genetic code. And so you're calculating the number of like additions, replacements, substitutions, and deletions. So you might take two pieces of DNA and see if how many characters are different, or see how many uh, characters seem to be missing, and it's it can be kind of a hard problem. If you haven't really done much computer like science or whatever, but anyway, so basically you can do the same thing with phonemes, and you can distort so if you can deepfake audio, which can be done, then you can take audio and calculate the Levenstein distance, and so you can so you can take a G and make it sound like a K, and you can you can decide that a word, and this is a viseme, by the way, um, the facial I don't know, the orientation of the facial muscles, and it's used for animation mostly and cartoons. So I first heard about Visemes in 2015 when I saw the first deepfake paper, and I was like, wow, they did it. Because it's really just like a measure of like similarity, um, and like kind of like understanding. But this kind of deepfake is easier. But deepfakes are just like you're recognizing certain points in the face, and then like trying to like bridge the gap and make one person speak like uh, content from another person's speech, or whatever. But this is actually easier. Basically, you can do things like voice to text, and you can search a video for particular words that could be mutated into other words, or you can do it like purely phonetically, and you can search for words that phonetically sound closer to other words. Um, and it's the same thing basically. It's not exactly a Levenstein distance, but it's basically just a metric. It tells you how far away some mutation is, and if that mutation like coincides with the real word, then you can make somebody like speak word salad. And if you've never heard like word salad, it's like one of the characteristic symptoms of like schizophrenia. Yeah, like here's an example. So I was like walking and the chair, the bird desk thing, and Pete tear what like I mean that's actually not a very good example, because it you really just like spiel words together, and they have no um, they have no semantic connection with each other. They're you just string them together, and they're words, but the grammar rules might be intact sometimes, and sometimes they're muted or mutated. And the Noam Chomsky sentence, colorless green. Oh shit. Colorless green dreams sleep furiously. That's not really an example of word salad, but if somebody said something similar to that, where there's no like semantic structure, or no semantic there's nothing like interpretable. Um, there's no interpretable semantic data from what the person is saying, and so and they might descend into word salad for whatever reason. But you can fairly trivially make like a deepfake algorithm that if you were say you were gonna like try to get somebody put into a mental institution, or for whatever reason that person was gonna be run over by a bus, and suddenly like you needed to like smear their name and like you could just run this algorithm and you wouldn't have to like run it like over all the like things they were saying. You could just run it over like 3% of the words or 5% of the words they were saying, and it just mutates it into something that like maintains like you could make it like so that it maintains like a word that is like metrically close like to the viseme so that it looks like they're saying the same word. So B's and P's, like plosive P and like I don't know what B the equivalent is for B, but they look the same. So do T's and D's and N's and M's. Well, I guess that isn't really like the same. Q, K, 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 Ch. They all sound the same, and vowels are pretty much like I don't know. Vowel, I mean, I guess like so. I mean, I guess some vowels would be like you know, they the visemes would look similar, but the vowels are more so connected to like the vowels are like more back here, I guess. Um, and you're kind of like changing like you're changing the tone, and you're probably doing a lot of other things. I got my linguistics license at like Kmart, so I don't really know, but no, like I really don't. I get a lot of things wrong, but you can like so you can maintain like you can have like you can try to preserve the visine like similarity. So you can have a metric for visine deformation if you want to mess with the video at all. Like the best way to do it is to not mess with the video at all, which means that you need to search for words that are like that are minimally distant in terms of the viseme. Like so, like, and you can use phonetic data to like you don't have to interpret the video to come up with a metric for a viseme. Like you can like because the viseme is based on like the viseme is based on uh, the phonemes that people speak. The languages kind of like uh, decide upon or select to construct the morphemes that they use in words and word stems and stuff. Uh, but it's almost like a one-to-one mapping of phoneme to viseme. And I might not be using these words completely correctly. I'm thinking of phoneme as in uh, like almost like monosyllabic, like a syllable unit, kind of. So it is complicated, but if you've already got software like set up for deepfake, it just really doesn't. I don't think it's really that hard because for like a complete video deepfake, if it's a full deep, I don't know how other people and maybe I've like heard this word somewhere before, but like a shallow deepfake to me is like just like minor like segments of a video being changed and like swapped out, and you can have a large impact on somebody, um, like somebody's like presentation or reception in terms of like the like how the audience receives their communication. You can have a large impact on that. I need to kind of like slow down and structure like what I'm trying to say because it is kind of complicated. But the the way to solve this, like the way to kind of like break at least like shallow deepfakes, um, like great. I'm trying to stop using like not really having a not really. I need to go to sleep basically, but suddenly I just discovered that my videos might be like deepfake. And I'm gonna find an example in just a second. Um, Another thing that you can do if you want to break deepfakes is just run like an alarm clock or like a noise generator, just whatever you want. Uh, and that helps because the algorithm has to make like expectations. Oh, ah! No. Time to go to sleep. The algorithm has to be able to make expectations based on. Let's not break the mirror. This is necessary. It guards against vampires and deepfakes. I guess it doesn't really guard against vampires. Let's see. I'm trying to think of where I was with that. Sorry, this is so unstructured. I was like really getting ready to go on a run and probably go to bed. When I was just like trying to review some of my like videos and found that like some of the words were just like I didn't say that. That's not what came out of my mouth. And it would just be like monosyllabic things like and some of it is like I didn't remember saying that at first, and then I was like, well, yeah, I guess I said that. Like the video I'm looking at is the 10-minute video, and it just seems like a lot of it's changed. And it makes me uncomfortable personally because, and I'm calling this like deep salad, just because. Maybe that's probably not appropriate, but you just like you could smear somebody if they're not there to defend themselves. And so like one thing that you could do is, and it's pretty horrible. Like you could go to somebody's if you had access and like you had the ability to talk to the doctor, like on the subject of the patient and the therapeutic relationship, you could go to the doctor and be like, look, like this guy's not right. He's making these videos, and you can't understand anything he's saying. He's so like he's very defensive. He's very guarded, but he's like really falling apart all of a sudden, and or something happened, and look like he tried so hard, but he was going nowhere, and his videos like he was so sad, and he just couldn't keep it together because he was crazy. Or you could just like get somebody institutionalized, like it's not like apparently it's not hard to get TDO'd because it happened to me, and I'm still kind of mad about it, but it's really not that big of a deal. Ultimately, like, I just don't understand why nobody tells me about anything, or ever like whatever. I don't really care. I'm just like still I'm mad about it, but then like in context it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so I'm gonna try to find like I found one at like 7:20 where like I said tired, he said tarded. Like I'm kind of tarded. Like I was like what? Let me turn this alarm clock off. Oh, actually, before I get into this video, the startup idea, or not startup idea, I don't really care about startup. Money. It is kind of nice because like if you have social resources, like those are pretty ephemeral. Like their value decays very quickly. The value is like time dependent. It can be taken away from you pretty quickly. Money is kind of nice because you can put it in a bank or you can invest it. You can move it around however you see fit. You can build a business out of it. You can take that business and do other things. And if you get into other businesses, you can have synergy. But probably not going to be. Not everybody's a winner. Anyway, so the idea is to have like a blockchain kind of like a blockchain verification mechanism for video, and maybe there's something like this. I don't know. You would take like it might need some kind of like custom like encoder for like MP4, and you would take video input, and you would take like an MP4 input, an MP4 input stream, and you would take each like keyframe and maybe the deltas, and you would introduce like a certain level of noise, um, that kind of like persists until the next keyframe, and that like you would just have dissonance, and you could even make it so that like the noise was like, you have 0, and then you split like from 0 into like noise that like cancels itself out. And there's probably I've never really thought about that, but there's probably patents or technology that uses some idea like that. I'm not sure how you you could guarantee that it cancels out. You could guarantee that like adding to noise signals almost cancels out, and then it's much more useful. So you have like a noise signal with like average volume, like I don't know, however many decibels. Let's see, what's realistic about here? 25 decibels or 20 decibels, and you could have like 2 or 3 or 4, maybe just 3. I don't know. I'm not sure if you do it too. But you add them all together, and then you have noise that's like much much lighter, and it's like negative 50 decibels. So you add the 3 noise signals together, and magically like they kind of like cancel each other out. And then you like you run a hash algorithm like similar to how a blockchain works, and you get a hash value for maybe each frame. And you would want to chunk a lot of this stuff together in the blockchain, in like the Merkle trees or whatever, Merkle hashes. I don't really know the ins and outs of blockchain. But for a video like that was recorded on a phone, you do it while you're recording on the phone, and you can kind of guarantee that video can't be edited without having obviously been edited, and so somebody else could like get access to like the addresses on the blockchain that would allow them to verify the video that they're viewing. And if you had to deal with multiple encodings, it would become a little bit difficult to deal with, because if you have to have like so you would have these like chains or threads of blockchain like structures, but they wouldn't be this is where I'm getting into areas that I don't really know much about. But it's not like a hash that like goes increases with depth and breadth. It's like a hash that like is for each video encoding would try to like maintain several like threaded like keychain verifications or hash verifications of like the original video image, and then like a noise video image, and then the noise it was noised with. And so you got all this stuff like kind of like you got all this input. You've got the original video signal, the noise, and then the noise video signal, and then basically like you can't like somebody could consume video from a streaming provider, and then like they could access some like third party or specific like verification service hosting like this blockchain, or hosting like an app, or this hosting the data to verify that video stream against, and they're only and see, I haven't really thought through this idea. I just like thought about this like 3 or 4 days ago, and I haven't been that like passionate about. I haven't really thought a lot about deepfakes since they first came out. I mean, I sort of have. I've wondered, like, somebody make deepfakes of me? Like, I don't know. It seems like you could do some really messed up things if you made somebody say something. Like, I mean, if you can make somebody's videos on Facebook say like word salad, like how often does somebody watch their own videos? How would they even know? Like, I'm looking at my videos now and I'm like, is this just now happening? Am I just like, is the audio so bad? Because like, I hate saying like, it is really annoying. Oh shit. So loud, sorry.
I'm right, but not really. I just want to make that clear because I'm tired of thinking about what other people are maybe thinking about or thinking they could say about blah, 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 blah.
I mean, the other videos audio seems to be a lot more clear. Maybe I was watching on, like, I just have no idea why there, like, I have no idea why there would be so much noise on the audio signal. It's so irritating. It's like there's this little like dangling neuron, like a couple dangling neurons, and they're and I'm like trying to like speak things, and these little things are like, and they're like short circuiting everywhere, and like everything they short circuit like is like, and it's really. Does it have to happen like that? Like, there it goes again. You see that? Every time I open my mouth, like. But is it really like something? And that is how I will have to change how I approach that, because that is like very close to the neurological like level. It's like the well, that's okay. It is at no, it's not okay. It is at the interface between. And I'll stop self-correcting myself and self-deprecating myself. I promise. Sorry if I look crazy. I sometimes do it intentionally. Let's see what is in. It's very close to the interface between the neurological and like subconscious aspects of language. I don't know. It's at low levels because for me it's like I'm just it. I can't feel it, but I'm streaming data through my language like circuits or whatever, and they just happen to go through the circuits that sort of like intersect with like everywhere in my brain. And those things get activated, and it's like if I just really have to think about it, and if I force myself to think about it enough, I'll change it, which is key to conditioning these kinds of like deeply conditioned habits. I've expressed that, I've allowed that habit to build up and that habit to like be expressed way too often. Going back to what I was talking about, the more interesting thing, not the likes. How? How did somebody turn me into a Valley Girl? How did that even happen? So the idea is streaming video providers like Facebook or YouTube or whatever, they would be like, you're like, they would put like a little like VeriSign icon beside your video, and they'd be like, nobody can steal your credit card if they watch your video, or nobody can like screw with your video without like the video like then being unable to be verified against the original blockchain signature unless the blockchain signature is changed. Like, so the streaming providers like database or data source would have the blockchain address in it that would correspond to that video's verification like head or whatever. And so the verification head would point to like sub encodings, and so you'd have to sort of like, I'm just imagining like if I wrote words like this, and if like, because that's what it's like to listen to things. And I've noticed it. I'm also tired right now, so. Where was I? Anyway, so basically, you can just feel confident that like your video is not going to be changed without your permission, or if it is changed, or if the video appears in another. There's more and less complicated ways of doing this. But if the video occurs on other streaming providers with some more complicated stuff, you could then also verify that it's the same video. But I don't know about that part. That's hard. So that seems like that would be really hard. Because like this like the Shazam algorithm. I wish I could just have like a little genie that pops up and be like, "Hey, I'm Shazam. I'm here to like grant you one wish." And I'd be like, "Can I please stop saying the word like?" That'd be fantastic. That's all I need. Thanks. I don't even need 3 wishes or whatever. Just give me that one. Allow me to have power over my brain. Where was that? So you could either do it for like a single video hosted on a provider. It really is it's like at the file encoding layer. It's not really at the provider layer. And people could take that video and take snippets of it elsewhere, and it would have to be like integrated. And actually, video file encodings probably have some kinds of checksums in them to some degree, but the whole thing is you introduce this like it's like a tensor decomposition really, but it's not really that complicated because it's like a direct sum decomposition of like 3 things. So you got like the original video frame, and video is a little bit more complicated. Like there's the video like keyframe, and then there's the delta like things. I don't know I know what the keyframe is. I'm gonna call the next thing the next piece of data that's like it's like the delta values for the keyframe. The keyframe sends all the data, and then only the things that change on the screen are stored, and a mapping of like where those things like are on the screen like allows the data that is like 2-dimensional little pixels, and like you can identify these artifacts on like a TV. Like if there's a little bit of static, if there's a little bit of digital noise, you see like these weird like kind of glitchy things, and it'll be like on one region of the screen corresponding to like movement and the edges of movement, and then it'll just disappear, and when it disappears, that's a keyframe. So you'd have 3 streams. You have the original video. You would have the maybe the noise signal, and then whatever. The thing is, you use the noise to create like 2 things, so that like one. And I haven't thought about this all that much, but you just want to make sure that one can't be changed without like changing the pattern in the other. But you don't have to run like expensive hashing things all over the place, because you don't want like a huge bloated blockchain. But then like this also wouldn't be that expensive of a blockchain, because the data is like parallel, or the data is like kind of like long linear like chains of just like checksums essentially. Like, and if somebody's consuming the video, if they want to be able to verify it, or if they want to be able to verify it when they want to, or if they always want the video to be verified, then that data can be fetched from the third-party provider. And you can just you can know that the certain values never change in the data source, never change in the database, and Of course, that's not how deepfake videos are coming about, but still, if you can get the deepfake algorithm to work so that if you can get this deepfake verification algorithm to work so that it accommodates for like similarity between images instead of like it, which is kind of really difficult. I don't really know how to get that to work. The Shazam algorithm. There we go. Shazam. The Shazam algorithm in like one dimension is like fairly easy. The Shazam algorithm in two dimensions is like much more difficult. And if you've ever like seen, have you ever tried to watch a movie that wasn't available on Netflix and you really wanted to see it? Elysium. Excuse me. That movie looked really cool. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix now, but it better be. I'm gonna go look for it. I tried to watch that movie on YouTube, and then I was like, "What are they doing here?" And like, it's like it's not a very good experience for me. I don't want that. I want a good experience when I want to watch a movie that I want to watch. If I don't want to watch the movie, then I'm not gonna watch it. Like that's it. Like I typically want the sound to sound good. I don't really care all that much, but I do like it to sound good. Sound to me is more important than video. But anyway, so like the videos on YouTube will be like scaled down, and they were able to escape like copyright video detection on YouTube for like a long time, or for a while because of that. But also that's not even that hard to detect because ultimately that's not even necessarily like an affine transformation. I mean, it is a affine transformation, but you don't have to account for all the different like possibilities of transformations that affine transformations offer you. You're only like really accounting for like scaling, and so usually you can just I think that's a linear operator, and so you can kind of combine that in conjunction with the kind of FFT type stuff that you do with the Shazam algorithm, generalized for two dimensions. And it's been a long time since I've looked at the Shazam algorithm, and so I can't remember like how easily that generalizes to two dimensions because it's like I think it works with a 2D FFT, but that still makes it like very expensive. It's probably one of the processing steps that they use when you're uploading video. So they're probably, well, I don't know if they would want to run copyright checks before they encode the video. I don't think they would. I think they would run copyright checks after, because there's probably a lot more of those, and so you want to like get the user, like you want them to get their content up, and then also you want them to be able to get their content up, and so you're like, yeah, I did it, I got the copyrighted video on, and then you're like, oh, if you upload like 50 of those before we started like catching on, because like now your account's banned. Thanks for giving us enough data to know what you were gonna do. And anyway, so this is all. I mean, this is all pretty simple stuff. So if you could get it to work for something like Shazam, like the Shazam algorithm or Shazam 2D like analog analogy, then it would because Shazam can detect like a small amount of variation. Because you can use Shazam to identify songs in a club. And so it can detect small amounts of variation, but can it handle like large quantities of like encoding artifacts across the entire screen? And that's a whole other question. Machine learning is magic. So you should be able to, like recognize the artifacts in the video with kind of like machine learning and like just like boop, 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 boop. I'm sure like that sounds kind of complicated, but if you've watched Terminator, I mean like when the robot like walks into a room and it's looking for something and or a predator or whatever, like you'll see like the little boxes like surrounding like objects, and if you've ever seen like a video on God, what are those things? Oh! I swear it's not a problem. It's a driverless car. That's what it is. Whew, wow, who the doesn't know about a driverless car or has never like professed an interest in like watching a lecture on driverless cars? They're not like I mean, that's awesome. Like good for you. Um, I'm being facetious. I'm like really frustrated because like I could be good at a lot of these things, and instead like I can never have anything. Um, it's just like I feel like I talk about something, everybody, shut him up, get him quiet, like okay, great, because I'm sorry that you don't know what I'm talking about, but it's not that hard. So anyway, you would figure out some way to construct a metric of similarity to make sure that like if there was coherent similarity that was like across like the entire frame of video, that like uh, you would ensure that if you had a metric of similarity, you would ensure that if there was a like coherent like amount of similarity across the entire video, that like if a small amount of dissimilarity appeared in the video frame, like particularly around the mouth, so you could actually probably just key in on the mouth. If you're worried about like kind of more shallow deepfakes, where certain words are being changed, and then deepfakes backfire because you just look for what small little pieces have changed, and then you understand who changed it and why. And all you have to not all you have to do, but you just have to. And I'm just mad, like even considering that possibility, like that, like I'm mad. I'm trying to correct myself. That's why I remember to stop and repeat. I'm mad because I'm having to consider the possibility and consider it realistic that like somebody is going to go back. I've got a lot of video online. That somebody's going to go back and like mutate video without my knowledge, and I imagine that like that would be kind of hard to do. Like you know, you couldn't just go edit video and not have that like be obvious, or not obvious, but not have it leave a trail for somebody to look. And also you can't just one does not so simply edit something in one data center without like making sure the edits are coherent across other data centers. And if you don't know where all the copies of data are, then you can't do that without having some kind of collision later on. And somebody's like, "Hey, we just got a bug report about this guy's video that got changed. Like, what's up with this? Like, there's a version here and it's different, and like the system went to go like fetch one or something, or like do something with the data and it blew up. Like, what's up with that?" Anyway, so the thing with the blockchain sounds cool. If you get something with the blockchain, I just don't know how, like, because you need videos to be shareable, and they're shareable as objects. But if if the video clip can be like downloaded and edited and recut, and I personally I wish I had more control over like how the video work is going to be encoded on the back end. Like I want to be like, here is my precious video encoding, and then like there's the data, and you just like put it on your servers, and that will be the maximum like encoding, and it never changes. And then all the lower encodings, like I don't care what you do with those. And that's probably how it's handled. That's the way that makes the most sense. So maybe I'm completely wrong about that. So I swear, like I'll go back and actually it may have to, it may be related to the data delivery like layer, the data delivery layer, something we all know about. When you're delivering data to the consumer, like the format of the data to like accelerate data, the receipt of the data, the final receipt of the data to the consumer, like the structure of the data may change a little bit. I'm not really sure why or like how that would occur specifically, but there may be like more efficient encodings for like transmission that are like better for transmission. But that doesn't really make any sense. And then like less effective, like less suited. There might be other kinds of like data encoding or data formats. There might be other data. So you would have data formats for storage, data formats for transfer to the consumer. But then, at some point in that step, like you've got to have some some process or something, and it's not just like give me bytes, sending bytes, give me bytes. I'm sending bytes. It's like give me bytes. All right, I'm gonna do something with this, and then send it on. It's not. It's like way too animated. It's really not. It's really not that hard. Ideally, you just want to be like, give me the thing. I'm gonna pass it on. If you ever have to like do something to the data, like first of all, you have to control something that you might spin up. That would otherwise be like it might be some process or like background task or something. Hopefully, it's not like a hopefully not a background task. Hopefully, it's not like a worker or something. Just depending on the context, but ideally, you just want to be able to get the data and pass it on. And if that's all you do, then you can do it with a web server or like just basically like a router or something like that can receive packets and send packets. And I think it kind of a high level, and then like I don't know. And then I get like Sorry, I'm kind of frustrated because this is going to be hard work. That like circuit is like on all the time. Like you can thank the 1990s, Mr. Zuckerberg. I'm gonna write the 90s a check because that thing is like on all the time. I wonder if it's like connected to other like I don't know whatever thing is. I'm done with that joke. Moving on. I'm really tired of the self-deprecating brain humor. I just have like something's wrong with like my whatever these are like the endo. Well, yeah, I really need to go to sleep. Anyways, yeah, it's not usually this bad, which is great, isn't it? I can't really like speak too openly about why like I'm staying up. It's not really what it seems like. It's more like I don't want to go to sleep because there's monsters hiding under my bed. I mean, it's not. That's ridiculous. I wish I could get out of his house. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it for me. I was gonna play. Well, let me play this like sample. It's great. I should like probably start with these examples, and I wanted. I'm gonna play it with Sound Flower Bed in a second, but I'm gonna use a. I've already played this actually. I'm gonna use the Bluetooth speaker, and that's too close.
It's weird that this.
I don't like that. The data should have been cached. Oh. You hate it when you miss something? Like, as the viewer, like, it's the exciting climax, and you missed it. I'm just kidding.
Thinking they could say about blah 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 blah. Which is weird because you would think that people wouldn't think so much about like what to say to impact. That's weird.
And that was like some stupid quote. That's one example. I heard like 5 other things that was just like there's this one. This is like I was talking about socio-physical things, and there's like one time I'm like waving my arms around, and I'm like saying like kung fu or something. I'm like, I didn't say that. And there were a couple other like times, and that's actually like a thing, where like if you're using words and you're not aware that you're using those words, like you're thinking like, and everyone makes that mistake to some degree, but if you're like constantly slipping in words that you don't intend to say, and especially if you don't catch that you're doing that, because those are 2 different things. It's more so like that you don't catch that you're doing it, but also if you frequently do it, that can cause that can indicate problems too. But they're two separate things, and there's a couple other things, but I really don't think I said like kung fu because it wouldn't make any sense. Maybe it would. I don't think it would. Like, I'm not talking about kung fu. That would be weird. I mean, it is I Ching. That has nothing to do with that. Like, I know how like hard it is for me to be taken seriously, anyways. Like, I'm like well aware of that. I just don't really have very many options. Like, either like I shut up and like live like a life where like I have no money, and then like everyone continues thinking the same things about me, and their negative conceptualization of me does not change, because I still don't have any access. And I don't have any like this is one of the problems with defamation, especially like when like one or more of the people who like perpetuated information like are like far more like advantaged than the person that like received like the impact of the false beliefs. And I've made like I don't know how much money over the past like 4 years, like probably less than $50,000 over the past 4 years. Like, and like no money from the government, because they've been like fucking me. I don't take money from people who fuck me. That makes me a prostitute, and I feel like I'm being raped. So I'm not like somebody that you can rape and then just like expect to be, like make it okay by like me signing up for money where you control like how I access it, and like where I have to go, and what bureaucrats I have to talk to, and what hoops I have to jump through, simply because I got raped and you wanted to give me money, like, or you wanted to think that it would be okay, because it's not. And and I want to move on, obviously, but in order for me to do that, like, I have to have access to opportunities. I have to have social access. If I can't have that, and I'm being like constrained and confined, and like it is very similar to a boundary condition for like stochastic differential equations, which is basically just like a whirlpool like in a stochastic differential equation, like those are usually, and I don't know what I'm talking about here, but I can conceptualize it in my head, like that if you have like diffusion processes, or if you have like a diffusion process, or I'm not sure what the diffusion process is, but if you have something that exhibits diffusion, um, or you have like objects that are like Brownian motion, or I guess Wiener processes, and you got a bunch of like randomly wandering things, but then they're influenced by a vector field that they're in. So they're like, they might be electrons like influenced by um, the electromagnetic field, or photons that are influenced by the electromagnetic field. Those wouldn't be exhibiting Brownian motion, of course, but they are influenced by the shape of the field. And if you're considering more generalized equations that are stochastic in nature, even though they're stochastic in nature, you can still kind of like funnel these like they're not particles like physical particles. They're they're just like mathematic objects or data, and like the vector field causes them to um, reach some area of the space, and because like the conditions in that area of the space don't ever change, they don't ever leave that space. Or and you can prove that they may actually never. I think you can prove that they may never leave the space, even though it's a stochastic different like stochastic. Even though the system has a stochastic nature, uh, and it has to do with like convexity and concavity, which I don't know really how to define that for like a vector field. Oh, never mind. Yeah, that's not that bad. But if it's a stochastic vector field, like how do you know? How do you know the thing is convex or concave like now without having to like think about it or check it or assess it? Um, how did I get off on this? Because and this video itself is a little paranoid. It would just make me mad to know like, and that's something that I would like. That's kind of something that I would expect like to maybe happen, but then also something I think I could expect to not happen, just depending on like if you change the contents of a file, like it is difficult to deal with like somebody's network infrastructure, and if you have to do that, you have to do it in some way where it, like you don't get caught or whatever. It's not an option that's available to everyone, making it like a little bit more obvious, like as to who would do it, or who would order it to be done, or whatever. And these are the things that help me like stop thinking about this stuff. I'm like, oh, that can't happen. Never mind. And I'm pretty. And it sounds bad, but it actually drives like my ability to reason about things, because I have to like think through like I have to figure out a way to think it's not possible, or find a way to collect more information or different types of information, that's really how you deal in life. Like if you're fundamentally like not able to have access to certain types of information, like that are social in nature, I guess it would only be like social in nature, really. Maybe they would center around like language, or this like around the spatial arrangement of people, or the behavioral state of people, or the behavioral state of groups of people. And if you're unconscious to all of that, there's certain problems that are very difficult for you. And then there's certain higher order behaviors that build upon those things as dependencies. If you don't have them, it makes you question things a lot. and that this is where like I feel like I'm misunderstood. I feel like I've been misunderstood for my entire adult life. People think like people thought I was like going crazy or like maybe like or whatever, uh, or it was like easier to explain me away as being crazy because you could tell somebody that and they might believe it. And like this is where like I am not able to like rationalize. I'm not rationalize. I'm not. It's not so easy for me to understand how people are gonna react to anything. Um, and then I can't even if I can like I can understand how somebody might feel as directly as a response to something I say, but it like thinking there's like two or three moves in, like how is somebody going to change? Like, how are their feelings going to change? How are their changed feelings going to influence their behavior? And then how is that going to lead to some like other consequences? Those things are all like patterns of behavior that can be kind of like uh, maybe considered categorically or typologically like and like I just have to like this is why I like math because before I had nothing. I couldn't understand anything and no like I don't think other people like realize that like it was hard for me. And it's frustrating because people don't they in other ways I'm kind of normal. In other ways like I'm not forthcoming with communication or I'm not like outgoing, I guess is a better word with communication. So that like there's not enough interaction and there's like all these like weird this is why I don't like thinking about this stuff. I just drop lights all the time. What was I thinking about? There's all this communication behavior patterns, blah blah blah. It's difficult for other people to see because I in some ways I look normal. In some ways, like they don't. I don't really interact with people. I don't really communicate with enough people. I don't seek communication. I'm always reacting to communication. If they drive the interaction, I'm fine. And so it lead like people either form a false perception, like encouraged by the development of false belief, or the development of like kind of warped belief, or yeah. And then on top of all of this, like something that like underlies all of it is like I'm like socially isolated. Like my social graph structure like limits like any interactions that I can have, and then any like social neighborhoods that I can branch out from. And I need money, I guess. And I need like thinking about going to get a job at Lowe's because I feel like I like learning about tools. It's an imperfect use of the word like. And so it's not even funny anymore. It would be a place like I just want to learn and try to build my life back together without having to like worry about being haunted by like stupid stuff. But then if it's a place where like if I if I really have to deal with like gang stalking people that are like doing like I don't know how to explain it. It's like nobody ever really taught me about hypnosis and other things like yeah, something you really just wish didn't exist. But if they can go anywhere there's public access, like I mean, what are the odds that like if for whatever reason they really don't like me, like what are the odds that like this little dark cloud's gonna like follow me wherever I go? And that's why I would rather just like put up a fight, and I don't really like, and then I can actually kind of explain myself where other people can't, but I still get. I don't know why I'm like trying to justify all this stuff on video. I guess I never really talk about much of anything to anyone, which is why kind of why I'm frustrated all the time. Like in larger cities, I would just hang out at the hacker spaces, and there would be people there. And when I'm around people that have common interests, It's easy for me, and there's too many like, and not that it should be easy, but if it's not easy enough, it the reason is if it's not easy enough, it is because let's see, I'm trying to properly state things. If there's too many like social boundaries, then those are essentially dependencies that you have to satisfy. And so, as dependencies, they normally have like products that would give you the like to calculate the probability of satisfying all those dependencies and entering like a magical game state where like things are new and you're not used to it. Like you've managed to like talk to the girl for 5 minutes and she likes you. Now the game's in a new state, or you're playing pinball and all of a sudden it's multi-ball and the game's in a new state. And if artificial intelligence is playing like the pinball game, like it has to like be like, oh shit, this is new, this is fundamentally different. And like this is kind of the stuff that's in representation learning or quantum learning. And you have to understand how you get to that state, and you can get to that state by accident and not realize how you got there. But if there's like all these boundaries in place around you that are like social or that impair your access to social opportunities, then you just can't get enough social opportunities to have the quantity of experiences that you need to develop. And that's how I feel like in Roanoke. Like I can drive, but I don't have very many places to go because I haven't had any money for so long. And I don't know what like I don't know what I'm really supposed to do about that. I guess I could get money from the government, but and then anytime I get a job, it's like I'm not allowed to have one. Like somebody at that workplace, like one person, almost always. Um, I just don't. I don't like artificial things. Like when people like manufacture truth or manufacture circumstance or like distort like, and everyone does that to a degree. But then like it goes back to I guess I'm going on a tangent. It goes back to like people not understanding what it feels like to be me, and then to like, and not that I'm like completely self-centered. I'm just saying like I don't think you understand like how indirect and like hard to see like my problems are. Like I don't have enough social exposure and social access to develop relationships to understand how relationships might evolve over the course of like certain like months. And I mean like any relationships like, and it's not that bad because I'm actually really smart and a good person, and when I have things together, it's fine. And when I live in a large city, I can always like go places. There's always somewhere for me to go, and I can always walk there, or at least get on like public transit that doesn't shut down at like 7 o'clock at night. And there's all these other things like I can't access the space. Like I'm spatially confined to Salem, Virginia, which is not very well networked in public transit to the rest of Roanoke. Like in order for me to get to the mall, it's like a 2 hour bus ride there, and a 2 hour bus ride back. I think. I mean, it's like an hour to the bus station, and then from there I can go anywhere in an hour, another hour. And like this is something. And people are like, "Well, just get a job, dude." And I'm like, "There's like what? With what? Like, what is gonna satisfy what I want to do?" And then I get a job that's like not challenging enough, and like it kills me to have to like. I don't want to do that. I struggle with it. I don't perform. I don't perform well. I don't feel like I'm needed, and other people don't feel like I'm needed. And then I can't like, I don't know. I'm just complaining to myself. and I can like have all these insights about things, and then like no one listen. Like I don't know. I feel like people are starting to listen to me. And I have a lot of like insights about psychology and sociology. And I've learned a lot, but I can't practice it. And there's just not like I'm not the kind of person that goes up and talks to people. Why? Because there's not enough training data. It's like trying to like run the handwritten digit like training like on like a data set that has like 40 digits, and then like expecting it to go out there and like look for like fancy new kinds of like digits like from like straight up computer font sets or whatever. Like there's all these like fancy sophisticated things that like this algorithm is supposed to like classify as digits or not digits. And it's only ever like experienced like digits like written in like crayon, or digits like it's not actually that bad, but or just like certain types of things, whereas like I should be able to go to college, or I should be able to go in the military. Like I can't get federal student funding because I didn't sign up for the draft. And there's all these things that excludes me from. And I guess I can get a dispensation, even though I feel like I feel like that's kind of lame. Because I would actually like to go, even though it looks like right now, like it looks, I don't look like somebody that would make it through like the recruitment process. Like, but given that I like wake up and go to sleep every at regular times instead of like staying up late and like and then getting kind of off on my sleep schedule and doing stuff like that. I understand that it changes how I look. I mean, sometimes, but then I feel like people are like they're like worried about what I look like, and then they never bother to talk to me. And then because I don't talk to them, they think I don't like them. And that's not what it is. It's that I don't know what to say to you, and then I never actually get enough training data, like with like social interactions, to ever know how to talk to anyone. And it perpetuates itself, and then there's all this like false belief and like constraining belief, and then nobody wants to hear what I have to say because it sounds like they either don't understand it or they claim they don't understand it, or this or that, and I'm just like, And like how are you gonna yell at somebody that like wants to help you? It doesn't really get you help. And then like there's only so much you can do to talk to somebody else about a problem. Like if all you do is talk to them about problems and then you never act on like the solutions or act on their advice, it's not gonna do any good. But basically, like, if I could just be like, oh, like, here I am in Roanoke, and here I am in, like, San Francisco, or Seattle, or Denver, or New York City, or, like, Orlando, or so many other places. Not that Roanoke is, like, it's just not big enough. And there's, like, I feel like this town has been held back, like, and I always feel like it's my fault. And then I've tried to help organize things. Like, I'm not like somebody that, I try to organize like meetups, but I just want to leave. And so if I organize something, I necessarily have to figure out how to transition that to the next person. And then nobody else seems to want to do it because they've been here their entire life, or they're not all that passionate about it, or they're just busy and they have like a job and they come home and they don't need to go to a meetup, or they don't feel they need to go to a meetup, or they have other responsibilities related to family and like children and stuff like that. And like there's just not enough people here, and then the whole time I'm like, well, I'm probably gonna get a job in like 3 months. Why am I gonna do all this work trying to market something that I'm just gonna be like, and like and leave. And then that's the same. That's another thing that like partially, slightly like feeds my attachment disorders. Like it not so much now, but in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and earlier like 2011, 12, like pretty much 2011 through like 2016, I was like, I'm leaving. It'll be 2 months, 2 months, perpetually 2 months, and I'm gonna be gone. So I would think like about potential like relationships, like in terms of like, oh, well, I'm not gonna be here. So not that like I would want like I just wasn't consciously like I need to like find a good group of friends to hang out with, like and it's not that I was like I don't want to form any relationships, blah blah blah. It's like I I didn't I just didn't naturally seek them out, and then people will like kind of be like they, if they there's something in the I Ching about this, but if they kind of move forward and want to hang out or something, or like you look like you need help or not need help, but like you look like you need a friend, or or they're approaching like you know uh, they're approaching you and like it's kind of like an upward thing, then they may be hesitant about that, and if you turn them down or if you forget about it, then they may not.
I want you to go to sleep now.
I know. I'm going to sleep soon. I promise.
When?
Soon.
When?
Soon. Like in like 2 hours.
No.
When the rink's closed.
You need to go now. Why when the rink's closed? You need to go now. You need to go to sleep now.
Okay, I will.
Oh, God.
I won't do this again.
I
mean, I'm gonna be here for the holidays.
I hope
so. Or I'm gonna want to engage with people during the holidays. I got these cool figurines, and I'm gonna draw things because I just got a touchpad. Or not a touchpad, but a graphics tablet. And so anyway, I kind of have like some issues, but they're not really that hard. But this guy can do air flares and head spins, but he doesn't have any friends. So I'm really excited about that because it seems creative and stuff. And I've got these, and I still haven't used them. Or I've kind of used them. I've taken some pictures that I plan on doing sketches with, but I haven't used the tablet to storyboard things, put some images up and stuff. Put some images together for illustrations of stuff in the I Ching, and then also like weird like concepts I need to draw. Like it'll be easier to do that with I could spend like a thousand words, or I could spend like 500 words describing something, or I could just draw it. And so I'm going to approach that whole thing by drawing things first and coming up with like a bunch, maybe like I don't know how much time I want to spend drawing things. I got to figure out like I got to think about my art style, because you like, and I've been thinking about like what it's like to sell a book. Although I don't really care like that my like a book that I write is successful. I do care that like if somebody bought the book, they read the book, and the book was like they were part of the intended audience, or they were like somebody I felt would be a type of person that would read the book. I want them, and anyone I would want to enjoy the book. But ultimately, I'm not writing for everyone. I'm writing for people. I'm writing for different groups of people actually. Another thing that I want to do is find like another book that I want to write is to find, or maybe not a book, but an article, is to find like just random like things uh, that describe sort of like math for the layman. And so that would be a book for like about math with like maybe illustrations that kind of like gives you like an idea of how like certain pieces fit together to give people like a greater appreciation for math, or like kind of help them figure out where to dip their toes in, and if they want to learn more, or it tells them why it's important and how to like structure your thought around certain things that you think are basic and you don't really consider, you might not consider certain aspects of, like when you're performing a task, like blowing the leaves, or not, well, like what was I thinking? Wheelbarrow paths, like wheelbarrow. If you're gonna take a wheelbarrow like up and down a hill, like, and the hill is kind of like weirdly shaped, then it can kind of be a difficult problem to figure out what's like the path along that hill that requires the least amount of work. So, or the path, like there may be paths that are excluded from like there may be paths that are excluded from you because the slope of the path changes too steeply. And then there's other things like Sobolev spaces, and for like, I don't know if it would be a Sobolev space. The Sobolev space is something that helps you like throw out solutions. It's used in among like, I'm sure lots of other applications for research regarding Navier-Stokes, and it helps you throw out solutions that are gonna like blow up. So you set some like bound or some like threshold, and if like if the integrals are like too extremal, or they're fluctuating too much, not the integrals, like the derivatives, the rate of change is like too much, and like it's never it never comes back down. Like if it looks like it's going to infinity, yeah, it probably is. And then you can tune the values of the Sobolev space and let like. But you can also take a structure that's similar and place constraints on paths like roads and like for like Google Maps or for Uber or something. And so like if there's inclement weather and you know it like the sub-regional like distribution of like snow or ice is like, so say you had not neighborhood by neighborhood data, but like maybe data to like on like this amount of snow and the state of the like roads, like whether they've been plowed and stuff like that. If you had that kind of data, then you can exclude some spaces of the roads like out outright, and then there may be some like hilly regions of that county or that city where like the driver, the Uber driver is not going to want to take that route. So you want to exclude that routes that go through those areas from consideration. And so you might intersect your map, like the logical street map, with you might intersect your map with topographical data, and then you look for like similar to the Sobolev space. I mean, not exactly like it. You just look for regions. I guess you could do it in a much easier way. You look for regions where the slope changes too much. So I guess you could do that. And it doesn't really require a Sobolev space. I wrote that one down on an index card, and I thought it was cool. I patted myself on the back. I was like, Sobolev space. But it like a Hilbert space is a Banach space. A Sobolev space is a Hilbert space. I think. I'm pretty sure. There's a Hilbert space with like a little bit more structure and a slightly different purpose. But anyway, I guess I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go. anyway, I'm doing all right. It's just like my life's gonna require time, and like it would be nice if I just had a work whistle and just go straight to San Francisco. Well, I might go somewhere else. I guess I don't know. But that would be nice. But like it just doesn't happen, and then it's hard for me because I don't have very many friends now. Like even where I live, I don't have a lot. I definitely don't have a lot of friends. I don't travel a lot. I definitely don't have a lot of friends like that where I can move to this weird like hand rash where I can like move to a city. Like I don't really know. Like I do have friends like in lots of cities or kind of like around the country. I guess. But I'm kind of out of touch with them. So the point is, I moved to an area, and it's difficult for me to establish a network. And then because of that, like, I'm like inherently like at a disadvantage when I go there. So I get out of Roanoke, and then I'm like in a situation where I'm like at work, and my only outlet is like more work, and then I become a workaholic, and then like usually there's a workplace bully involved, and like I'm trying to make it my only priority, like the only like I would do anything that I had to do. I would love to figure out how to keep the job, and it just doesn't matter. And like it happens every single time, and like I don't know. I gotta stop streaming. I don't know how I got on that, but I got like I just want to write now, so because some income streams don't really require like you're gonna put a book on the shelf. Like how's a workplace bully gonna like put my book on a shelf? Is a book on a shelf?